Order the monthly meeting of the Northwest Education Services Board of Education. Dr. Sebert, would you call the roll, please?
Certainly. Brown.
Here.
Carpenter.
Here.
McKellar.
Here.
Shear.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
Berge.
I am here. I, Rachel Berge, am attending this May 4th regular board meeting remotely. I'm physically located in Kalkaska County, Michigan. I'm able to have two-way communication for this board meeting. Please record this public announcement in the meeting minutes.
Thank you, Rachel. And Jason Tank.
Hi, yeah, I'm here. Jason Tank, am attending this May 4th regular board meeting remotely. I'm physically located in Traverse City in the state of Michigan. I'm able to have two-way communication for this board meeting. Please record this public announcement in the meeting minutes.
All here. Very well. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need a motion to approve the May 4th, 2021 agenda as presented.
So moved. Support.
There's a motion in support. All those in favor signify by aye, and if you're on Zoom, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried. I want to welcome everyone to our meeting, and in just a moment, we're going to have public comment. Just immediately prior to that, there is a statement that I'd like to read on behalf of the Board of Education. Northwest Education Services is grounded in shared values, including diversity, equity, empathy, and putting students first. We live these values when we reject dehumanizing practices, including all forms of discrimination based upon race, sex, ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, class, religion, nation of origin, age, and ability. Recent events have reminded us that there is still work to be done and that lasting, meaningful change will require effort from all of us. Discrimination, whether unintended or overt, is a pervasive issue we must all work to eliminate from our society. We must not resort to simply condemning, but naming the behavior for what it is: bigotry, ableism, racism, and take deliberate steps to address it in our communities. There are countless barriers to overcome in education. Ensuring that our hallways, classrooms, schools, and school districts are free from harassment and discrimination of any type is a vitally important undertaking and a responsibility shared by elected officials, administrators, teachers, community leaders, parents, and students alike. By working together, we can create a better future that is more inclusive, diverse, and equitable, and one in which all of our children can feel they belong. In collaboration with our local school districts and regional partners, the Northwest Education Services Board of Education is committed to securing a safe and belonging environment for all in our community. Thank you very much. Now, do we have anyone with respect to public comment? Brandy or Renee?
Tonight, we do not have anyone that has completed the form for public comment, but there are some guests that might want to unmute themselves. No one has commented, but.
Okay, anyone here? No? All right. Thank you all for coming, by the way. Some of you I know probably have to be. Dr. Sebert, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Well, thank you, President Fisher and the entire board. Appreciate your support and that statement for sure. I'm excited to welcome Marty-Ann. Marty-Ann Guinea is our supervisor at Traverse Heights Elementary, and she has an exciting presentation to share with you around recently approved board of track system, and Marianne does a phenomenal job for us at Traverse Heights with our students, and excited for her to be here.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for having me here today. I am also very excited to share with you about this wonderful addition to Traverse Heights. Go ahead and move on to the next slide, please. So we have a room at Traverse Heights now that has a track system in it. And here are a couple pictures from this track system. The title here, track system allows for freedom of movement, is so applicable. As you see in the picture there, the close-up of the track system is in an H formation, and it allows students to walk along the one path, and then that track moves along another track. So essentially, the students, when they're in the system, as you see one of our students there, they're able to move all around the room freely, which is such a big thing for them. And we're going to talk about more what that means for our students. You can change. Thank you. So it has been a journey to having this new space for learning for our students. It started about 6 or 7 years ago, where our VI consultants, so that's visual impairment, our teacher consultants of the visually impaired, they were trained in active learning. And then they came back and they shared with the center's staff about active learning. Then we had somebody from the Pennerton Center come and give training to multiple staff from multiple centers on active learning. Following our training, we have acquired quite a bit of equipment that is used within active learning. And we traveled to the Pennerton Center and learned more about the track system. That picture that you see there is actually a picture I took on my trip to the Pennerton Center. Pennerton Center for children who are blind down in the Detroit area. So following us going down to the Pennerton Center and learning more about how to use track systems and the other equipment with students through the active learning principles, we started a professional learning community and really diving into the principles behind active learning, which I'm going to share with you a little bit more. So active learning is an approach to working. It really started out with working with children who are blind. It was developed by Dr. Lily Nielsen. She is an educator and a psychologist, and she developed this way of working with children who are blind, is also very beneficial to working with children who have significant physical disabilities. And as you can imagine, children with severe multiple impairments, with limited mobility, they don't have a lot of opportunity to actively engage in their environment. And a lot of the stimulation that they get is from people doing things to them, rather than them actively exploring. And there's a lot of really good development and learning that comes from children actively exploring their environment. So active learning is really about setting up the environment so the student can actively engage in it of their own volition, and all of the learning that takes place from shaping that environment so that they can be active learners. So here's some of the equipment that we have gotten, because it's not just the track system. We have quite a few pieces of equipment that we have gotten over the years to be able to do the active learning principles with our students. This is the active bench, and with this, the student is placed over it so they don't have to work against gravity and be able to manipulate objects below them by being over this activity bench. This one is a little room. Oh, I'm going to talk a little bit about the little room. That's okay. The little room, students can go right on inside there, and there's different objects that are placed strategically so that if they had a little movement, because again, it's limited, these are students with limited mobility. From a little bit of movement, they are able to have something take place where they learn from, and then they continue to explore their environment. And then this is the HOPS address. And the HOPS address allows a student to be suspended from the track system. Before we had a track system, we were using the HOPS address from the ceiling, from hooks from the ceiling. And what it does, and you can see in this picture, is the student is able to, that picture, the student is actively exploring with their feet. And so they're getting that sensory input from their feet and learning about the movement of their body by having that ability to actively explore with their feet. If they did not have the HOPS address, we'd have to use some type of gait trainer or walker. And as you can see, this just allows for much more flexibility of movement. Behind the student, you can see a wall there with different objects to be able to touch and explore as well. And all of those different objects, we've had staff spend a lot of time. There's different levels to the activity and different purposes for the different objects. So it's very, I want to say kind of prescriptive, but I mean, it's very intentional behind it, what you are having them explore in the environment. Go on to the next one, Randy. Okay, so we had a lot going on, but there was still that vision for more functional mobility. Thanks to the generosity of one of our local Knights of Columbus, as well as the shared vision from this board, we were able to get our own track system installed at Traverse Heights. And this was a bit of a journey as well, because we started with one of our physical therapists, Julia Baresi, tried for a grant to get track systems in multiple rooms at multiple centers within the ISD. And unfortunately, she didn't get that grant, but she did a lot of research behind it, which helped us then to move forward with getting it on our own. So much thanks to Julia Baresi for that legwork. But then beyond that, we have been fortunate to have a Knights of Columbus group that has given us money every year, and we've been saving that up. And so that went toward the track system. And then of course, a lot of our own funds, which you supported. So thank you. I'm going to talk real quick about a couple pictures here. These are pictures from our center, from our active gross motor active learning room. Those are ladder walls there, and they help having students stand at them and be able to hold. We're working on that grass for them to be able to support their bodies so that eventually through time and work, that they'd be able to use grab bars to hopefully support themselves. So that those ladder walls have different size dowels in them to be able to increase that grip strength and work toward that goal. But they also allow us to hang different pieces of the active learning equipment or materials for the students to engage with. And the other, I'm sorry, you can't see the other pictures of one of our students in the HOPS address there. And here you can see is another one of our walls in the room. And these walls, Julia Baresi, her husband Dave, Jim Laurent, and especially big, huge thanks to Floyd Valentine for putting our walls together for us. Those walls are amazing. They're pegboard walls. They actually open up so that we can put different materials on them for the students to engage with. So we had a lot of work that needed to be done to get the room ready in the beginning. And then the system went in over the spring and summer. And then we have continued to do more work to get that room ready, and we will continue to work on it. So this is one of our students enjoying her time in the track system. for schoolwork. So she would have the ability to walk anywhere she wanted in that room. And we actually have two systems, so two students can walk. And what is amazing, and you can't see it there, but you know, the opportunities for students in the past were really with that equipment. And the equipment is so important because it's what they have access to typically at home or out in the community. But to watch a student in the track system, it's so freeing to them, and you can just see they light up being in there. And it's free will to go, to go where they want to go in the space. And it kind of takes out some of that, there is a bit of traction with having to push a device versus just being suspended and using your muscles to move your legs. So there's definitely some benefits to being in the track system over using the equipment. So next one, Brandy. Okay, so we have some more work to do on this. We need to further expand our active learning materials. You didn't see a lot of them in here, but we do have a lot of work we've done to have those materials ready to use with students in that room. We've done, we have our therapists are working with our staff, getting our teacher assistants really involved in knowing how to use the equipment and the principles with individual students. And as I have on here, continue to work with individual students. So when we know we want to work with active learning principles with a student, our occupational therapist works with the classroom staff to make an individualized plan for that student. So it's not just going in there and getting in the HOPS address on the track system, but it's really about what goals do we have for that student and what materials are we going to use to work toward those goals. So I just want to say a huge thank you. This has been like a dream of our team for years now in the making. And so more than anything, I want to thank the Northwest Education Services Board of Education, Knights of Columbus, Linda Malecki, who's really helped to lead this project, Floyd Valentine, who has been amazing. He's our lead custodian, and he has done a lot of work for us to make that room what it is. Julia and Dave Baresi, Jim Laurent. Cindy Barker is a teacher over at Traverse Heights. This year, she taught our remote students, but she also took on really expanding our active learning and has done an amazing job getting our materials together. Katie Ford is our occupational therapist, and she's doing our coaching right now with our staff on how to really individualize the active learning for students. And of course, all the staff there at Traverse Heights who have such passion for working with our students and are doing the work every day. So thank you. Yeah, and are there any questions related to
I'm
this?
curious of the size of the room that this is in, the track system.
Oh gosh, probably Linda could answer that. It's one of our regular classroom size rooms. So we used to have actually a big like jungle gym in there for students, and there very few of our students could actually access that, as you could probably imagine at Traverse Heights. So we had to take out this big gym structure we had in there and redo the room so that we could have the track system in there. So I'm sorry, I'm not good with estimating.
I would say it's probably, between 900 and 1,000 square feet. Okay. It's a typical class.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you could, how many more of these would you think would be needed?
Well, our vision in the beginning was to have each classroom have them so that students could be in them and engaged in the classroom, freely moving. I know that right now it's kind of a goal to have one over at Life Skills Center because they don't have a room yet, and our students move on to Life Skills Center. So that would be our next priority, would be to try to have one over there.
So Marty, do you, what kind of feedback have you had from parents who have their kids get to do this now? I mean, what's the difference when they come home with health and attitude and some?
Well, I think we haven't gotten far enough along yet to really get there, but I do know I have at least one parent who has a track system now in their home. But we're kind of still in the beginning stages, and we haven't been able to have parents come out yet, because we're not having visitors in the building. We have one thing that's been great about, there's not been a lot that's great about COVID, right? But one thing that has been a positive is we've actually, because of the remote learning, we've been doing more and more with parents this year. And so, which has included things like home visits and just really connecting more with them. So I can see having people come in and be able to work in the environment with them in the future. But we're just kind of in the beginning stages of really working on this.
It would seem as though students would just be so excited at the opportunity to do something different and to be more like everyone else.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, when we started with Move, if you remember, it's been 7 years or so since we've been trained. Maybe it's longer than that. Since we had training on Move for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I remember after that, how some of our kids just came to life that weren't as engaged because we were getting them up more and equipment and, just having them standing and doing things more actively than they were previously, really. And I see this doing the same thing, right? It's just kind of making them more engaged. So pretty exciting. Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. The other, underneath presentations and recognitions, I want to, it's tremendous that we have the Board of Education adopted strategic plan, and you're seeing things come to life because of the vision of the board and the work that we put into this. So thank you for that. One of the goals that our staff has been working on was to promote a positive work climate and culture. And even in the midst of a pandemic, we have staff members that are dedicated to ensuring that we lift up our staff and our climate and our culture. And so one of the things they developed is a sailor on deck recognition system. So it's an opportunity, a lot of hands make this work possible. Caitlin and Corianne were the leaders of this group. And I know Ryan Moss put together a sailor system of recognition that operates seamlessly. So any staff member, any board member can fill out a real short form when they recognize individuals within our organization that embody one of the values that we hold dear. And so I'm excited. This is the first month we've released it. We actually had 62 submissions. 53 different and unique staff have been recognized by their peers for the system. And what happens, as you will recall, is that an email gets sent directly to that person, and their supervisor is aware of the recognition that's taking place. We had 9 staff members that received two different nominations. And I think the most exciting part is that every single value that we hold dear within our organization was recognized. And so I just a kudos to the staff, and the way that the committee would like to recognize it is every board meeting we're going to, out of the pool of the most nominations, we'll select one and then recognize them for their service with a certificate of recognition. And so this month's recognized staff member is Brittany Kay. And I'd just like to read, your commitment to serving, achieving, aspiring, and learning exemplifies Northwest Education Services mission and vision. Colleagues have recognized your strengths in your work as you align admirably with the values of listening and excellence. Thank you for your dedication as it sets an example to inspire and encourage others. And that's going to be presented on May 4th, signed by the president and myself too. So, Brittany. we'll do this,
Yes,
huh?
that sounds great.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It's
I really
so
appreciate
amazing.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So every month we'll be recognizing one of our employees.
Very cool.
So
Let's move on to Roman numeral 3, action items. The recommendation is to approve the consent grouping as presented.
I make the motion to approve the consent grouping as presented.
There's a motion and support to approve the consent grouping as presented. Dr. Samari, can you call the roll?
Brown,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
McKellar,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Berge,
Yes.
Tank,
Yes.
motion carries.
Yes. Mr. President, could I say one thing?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I review the consent grouping as we all do before meetings and, noticing, the new employees that are coming on and retirees and people that are leaving. And I just want to take a minute to recognize the work that goes into recruiting and vetting and hiring staff. That's a lot of work that I know is going on. And occasionally I'll recognize, some of the people that are coming on and they're always top notch. And so just kind of hats off to that, to everyone involved in that process.
So I so appreciate that. We'll make sure that we relay your appreciation, the board's appreciation. And if you can only imagine in the midst of a pandemic, the added responsibility and what's been placed upon our HR department. So thank you so much. There's a lot of those individuals that really appreciate those words.
Hey, can I add one thing too?
Yeah, that's good that you point that out. And sometimes with the consent agenda, it's sort of cold and heartless the way that we maybe don't recognize enough those that retired. I see Cindy Barker, 17 years, Kimberly Urbanski, 17 years, and Grant Blesman chasing me for 42 years. So that's all very good, and hopefully all those that resigned go on to bigger and better things or whatever it is that they're looking for.
I think Jason also has a comment. Jason?
I didn't have much to add other than the fact that it looks like Grant Blesma has almost has been around longer than Joe. So that's pretty incredible.
And he's close.
He's close.
He's an Elk Rapids boy too, so.
That's pretty incredible. I think that's a great thing.
We'll make sure that we every year we celebrate our retirees. Last year was quite unique, as this year will be as well, but we'll make sure that we let the board know what that will look like.
Okay, and thanks again, Jim. We'll go on to 3B, contract for early child specialist services. Matt?
Good evening, everybody. So I've got a number of items here starting. They're all early childhood related. This first one, contract for early childhood specialist services, is with NMCAA, one of our great partners in the work, for $28,151. Essentially what this is there's a requirement when it comes to the GSRP program to have an early childhood specialist to support the programs in terms of quality monitoring, training, that sort of thing. So this budget employs one full-time early childhood specialist through that contract with an MCAA. It's going to be supervised by our early childhood director and birth to 5 early childhood coordinator. And again, just to note that it's a requirement of the grant.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Rachel.
I'll support.
We have a motion of support, discussion. Go ahead, Dr. Samir.
Brown,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
McKellar,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Berge,
Yes.
Tank,
Yes.
motion carries.
Item C, recommendation contract with Nielsen Design Group. Again, Matt?
Yep, this staying on the early childhood focus here, this contract with Nielsen Design Group, it's for the third phase of the build of the Great Start to Quality website in the amount of $35,000. This is basically the creation of a portal That's a regional platform that allows the organization to both share resources and referrals throughout the region. So it's a continuation contract. The phases 1 and 2 have already been completed. This is moving to that next phase, and also includes the required ADA compliance, hosting, and maintenance.
I'd make that a motion to approve that contract with Nielsen Design Group.
I'll support.
Motion and support, discussion.
Brown,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
McKellar,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Berge,
Yes.
Tank. Motion carries.
I think I said yes out loud.
Thank you.
Item D, recommendation contract amendment with Spratt LCC. Again, Matt?
Yep, this is a contract with Spratt for mental health services. There was a contract already approved by the board in September for in the amount of $40,000. This is a increase request in the amount of $25,000, and through GSRP funds. As you may imagine, there's been an increased request for mental health consultation this school year. I think we can probably speculate as to why. So just looking to stay on top of this really important service with GSRP. It'll be again supported through our regular GSRP funds.
Move to approve this contract amendment with Spratt LLC.
Support.
Discussion.
Is this a local person or is this like telehealth? How does this work?
So I believe that this is actually local. But I think it's probably one of those situations where it can go in either direction depending on need. But yeah, it's a local individual.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
Brown,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
McKellar,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Berge,
Yes.
Tank.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. E, recommendation contract amendment with Melissa Dice. I apologize if I mispronounced Ms. Dice. Go ahead, Matt.
Yep. And last but not least, on my part anyway, here, the contract amendment. Again, this is a contract that was approved same time, September of 2020. The original was $18,000. The increase that we're requesting is $12,000 through general GSRP funds. And this is extra efforts related to Otis and remote learning options. Again, in this year with the increase in flexibility and needs for the different types of education, we experienced an uptick in remote learning. And so additional hours for that, as well as for student recruitment and enrollment that was due to a long-term absence in the program. So just looking to catch up and make sure that we can square this and have the appropriate allotment for the needs that we have.
I move to approve the contract amendment with Melissa Dice.
Support. There's a motion to support. Is there discussion? Go ahead.
Brown,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
McKellar,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Berge,
Yes.
Tank.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Matt. Recommendation, contract approval for early on Part C services. Carol Crowley.
Good evening, everyone. Happy spring. This is a request to approve a contract with Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency to employ 3 part-time year-round staff to deliver Part C services. These same folks have been employed for over a decade, although with different fiduciary partners. This is the second year that we've had a partnership with NMCAA in this is Part C of IDEA and is grant funded.
I'll make the motion.
I'll support.
We have a motion and support. Discussion. Go ahead.
Brown,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
McKellar,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Berge,
Yes.
Tank.
Yes.
Motion carries.
G, recommendation proximity reader project at CTC complex. Linda Malecki.
Good evening. Last month, we brought before you the project to change out the current door lock reader system that we have at Career Tech Center and change everything over to proximity readers. We put that project out for bids. We received one bid, so we're seeking approval for Allen Supply for the project in the amount of $69,326.
Make a motion.
I support. We have a motion and support. Discussion.
What would be the timeline on this project? When do you think it would be put in and complete?
We're hoping by the end of June. That was what was in the bid specs.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
Brown,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
McKellar,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Berge.
Yes.
Tank.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
H, recommendation Arnell boiler replacement bid. Again, Linda.
Again, this project, we put that boiler out for bid. If you recall, this is a project where we are ordering the equipment first to ensure that we are meeting the supply chain lines, and then we'll turn around and rebid the second part of the labor portion. And we put this out for bid. We received 5 responses back, and they ranged from 108,862 to 124,987.41. And we are recommending on behalf of our contractor or the architect and engineer to go with the low bid of 108,862 for this project.
I make the motion to approve this bid.
Support.
So we have a motion and support. Do we have discussion? Go ahead.
Brown, Carpenter,
Yes.
McKellar,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Berge,
Yes.
Tank.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
We'll move on to Roman number 4, information items. Dr. Spark.
Per the statute with regards to the instructional delivery model and pursuant to our COVID-19 extended continuity of learning plan, we are to report to you on a monthly basis how we are going to deliver instruction. We are intending to continue with the plan and deliver face-to-face instruction. We've had a two-way attendance participation rate of over 97% for the month of April. And we will continue to work with our health department and identify areas in which we may have to take a pause. We will continue to work with our medical professionals, follow their guidance, but we also recognize trying to continue and get through the remainder of the year face-to-face is our hope and our intent. I would like to make a special note of appreciation. Munson is really making a push to provide as much information and data out there around the vaccine. Dr. Nefsey has done some great presentations around dispelling the myths around the vaccine and really trying to ensure that we get as many folks vaccinated as possible. We've worked with our health department on clinics, and there is word today that it's likely that the Pfizer vaccine will be available for students 12 and up. So I want to let you know that we're going to continue to work and where appropriate and necessary with appropriate permission, parental permission, provide clinics to make it as accessible as possible. I also want to publicly thank Ryan Jarvie, who's our Director of Communication. was also working along with Munson on that campaign to ensure the vaccination information is out. We're also going to be trying to organize an additional information campaign to our parents for those students that are eligible, where we'll bring in local physicians, medical directors on a Zoom call that will be moderated. And again, a lot of extra work, but it's all hands on deck. We want to try to get through to the finish line. So that's the update for this month. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those at this time. Hearing none, I'll move on, if it's okay, President Fisher, with my report. This week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and so I would be remiss if I didn't call the board's attention to the heroic efforts of our staff and our teachers this year. One of the very few benefits of the pandemic is, I think, renewed appreciation for the incredible work that our teachers do every day. And so our staff, our parents are recognizing their efforts. It didn't take long for our parents to have to work and try to educate their children at home to recognize that there's a special place in our hearts for the teachers and what they do for our students. So big shout out to our teachers this week and this year. I also would like to call your attention to an article that was in Traverse City Business News. I don't know if you had an opportunity to read it, but it was entitled Trade-Offs, Career Tech Center Weathers Challenges for Skilled Trades Education. And it really is a very nice article kind of highlighting the work of our Career Tech Center and our students and staff. A special thank you to Pat Lamb, who was extensively interviewed for that and did a really nice job. I'll pass this around so you can see that. And then last but not least, I'd like to just recognize an individual that has passed, but provided an incredible amount of service to what was TBA ISD, what is now North End. So Richard Purvis died at the age of 100 years old, but he actually taught welding at the Career Tech Center for a while, and for 25 years served on the board and served as president during many of those years. So they actually have put together a memorial and asked contributions to be made directly to the Career Tech Center Student Scholarship Fund for the welding program. So giving to the very end and then beyond. So just like to recognize Mr. Purvis. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Dates to remember, May 25th, our work session. Is that still going to be optional or virtual or in
yeah, we'll have a hybrid option just like we're doing now. We will have co-leaders coming in to present to the board if at all possible. So the only other thing that I would just make mention is the evaluation of the superintendent is upon us as well. So during that time and prior to the 25th, we'll provide you with a summary of the evaluation form for you to review, and then we can go into closed session at that juncture after the strategic planning update, just to review, and then come back out in June for the formal evaluation process.
And I also note that the June meeting would not appear to be on the first Tuesday, so make note of that.
It's also 8 a.m.
What's that?
It's also 8 a.m.
Oh, jeez.
Good reminder, and I have one more date to remember if it's okay. June 4th, we have the Life Skills Center graduation at 10 a.m. and the ACE at 12:30. Right now, I think the plan is to have it under a tent in the life skills track. Should that change, I will definitely let you know. And forgive me, one more thing, I neglected to say thank you to the board members that have attended all of those hearings with our local districts. That went very well, and really appreciated your presence there.
You know, and just hats off to you and Linda and the whole team on your presentation parts. And I thought all the ones that I was able to participate in were beautiful.
And that reminds me that I skipped over board member reports and requests, so anybody else, it's great that you were able to attend those that you did. Rachel, did you have your hand up or something? Okay. Anybody else have anything for the good of the order? If not, we're adjourned. Have a safe one.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.